Welcome, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Very excited today to be talking with Henrik from Chromia. How's it going?
Great, great. I'm happy to be here. And nice to,
Happy to have you on. It's a very
yeah, yeah.
interesting project. I mean, going through the research and looking at some of the focus on different government projects and stuff that you guys are working with. We're going to be getting into all that. Now, just before we do start, I want to tell everyone out in the audience that this is an upcoming IEO on Kucoin. It's kicking off on May 28th. As always, with all IEO projects, do your own research, guys. It's an interesting project, but got to do your own diligence. And a massive thank you to the team at Chromia for supporting the channel by sponsoring today's video. Now, Henrik, we have to get into this, and let's just jump straight in with the elevator pitch. Give us the high level. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so Chromia is a new public blockchain. It has a technological difference because it's a combination between a relational database and a blockchain. We call the concept relational blockchain. And basically, we want to empower the Dapps that we always wanted to build. So give opportunity to make applications that can really give power to users and control to users. So that's why we have kind of slogan, power to the public, because it's about enabling to create really decentralized applications controlled by users. Yeah.
Awesome. Getting dApps to scale, getting dApps to kick off and go to the next level, it's been a challenge for all blockchains. We see all dApps right now, the biggest ones only have around 4,000 or 5,000 daily users at a maximum. Jimmy Song a few years ago said that individual dApps will never exceed 100,000 users. Do you agree with him?
Yes and no. I mean, it's pretty cool. Jimmy Song was actually in the Color Coins project together with us. I think even, yeah, even worked for us a short time. So he has the perspective, of course, of the existing blockchains, which do not scale enough and doesn't have the user interface that is required. You can't really have my mother go to an exchange and buy Ether in order to play a casual game. I mean, of course, it doesn't scale in that way, and you cannot have the number of transactions of the traditional blockchains. But now, I mean, there's a movement to increase the transaction volume and the speed. It's not only us; there's a lot of projects that are trying to solve the scalability issues. But it's also about the user interface, not having to actually own tokens in order to play a game, for example, or participate in an application. So an easier onboarding for users, as well as you need the kind of mature technologies that you're really able to do complex applications. And that's, I think, something unique with our project, because we're building this on a similar technology as a relational database. Actually, below the scenes, it is a relational database, but we made a new language to make it easy to do programming. And if you look at the normal applications, if you look at Facebook, worked with MySQL and PHP at the start. You have a database at the start. If you look at any enterprise application, I can't think of a single enterprise application that does not have a relational database as its foundation. SAP, etc. Maybe there's one exception, but I mean, blockchain is about handling data, and so far it's been in a primitive way, I would say. Yeah. And so it's hard to make really good decentralized applications with these kind of tool sets.
Yeah, definitely. We need to continue exploring how we get even better tools to enable this future economy of blockchains. Now, obviously, we've had a lot of experimentation in this space, and we see Ethereum, and it's got a lot of limitations in terms of low transactions per second and gas fees and all these different things. EOS came along, and they're trying to find a different way to do it where users don't have to pay to send transactions and things like this. And so why should developers choose to come and build their dApp on Chromia versus EOS or Ethereum, for example?
Well, I mean, it's about the easiness of making complex applications, as well as the powerful underlying technology of a relational database. If you want to search for information, it's a one line of code, and you have a highly indexed storage below. It's basically a very, very easy way to make complex applications. It's much, much harder with traditional blockchains, I would say. I mean, even the best blockchains have something resembling a NoSQL database, but if we look at the total market, NoSQL has maybe less than 10% of the complete database market. There's no one building a complete application only on NoSQL. It's a caching layer for most applications. So yeah, making something powerful in an easy way. And fewer lines of code means fewer bugs, faster time to market, etc.
Mm-hmm. A big buzzword right now in the blockchain ecosystem is interoperability. Everybody wants to build over to Ethereum so they can be interoperable with the Ethereum virtual machine or interoperable with Bitcoin via atomic swaps. To what extent do you see this being important for Chromia? Are you working on getting interoperable with Ethereum and Bitcoin as well, or are you trying to cut your own path and focusing on getting people just to come to you without worrying about interoperability?
Well, it's hard to make something that's compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine necessarily for our technology, because it just doesn't. It's not technically possible to build a database on the Ethereum virtual machine unless you have just a proof of concept, but the real, you can't do that. And it's still an early market, so I'm not sure that the EVM should be the standard for all the future. But we will have like a bridge for tokens between Ethereum and Chromia. We're also part of the security model that we do some timestamping into both Ethereum and the Bitcoin. So yeah, we come from basically from Bitcoin in 2012 when we did the first token protocols, and then we know the founders of Ethereum. So yeah, I appreciate that kind of technology. It's really cool technology, but I think that it's hard to make it completely compatible. Then
I think you make a good point too, that we are still so incredibly early in the entire crypto ecosystem that there's going to be a lot of innovation happening, and that innovation's a good thing. We should be pushing the boundaries, and a lot of people are just saying, well, Ethereum, that's going to be it. Let's all put the Ethereum virtual machine on and try to be interoperable, instead of trying to be a bit braver and cut their own path too. So I certainly appreciate that ingenuity that you guys are pushing forward. Now, in terms of scalability, again, another massive conversation talking point in the crypto space, what kind of scalability, what kind of throughput are we talking about here with Chromia?
Well, since it's not completely finished yet, it's hard to say exactly, but it's highly scalable. At the core, using a Byzantine PBFT, practical Byzantine fault tolerance. So it's a voting scheme, which means that we can accept a large number of transactions, so maybe up to 1,000 a second per blockchain. Blockchain can also be composed of several subchains, so you can scale it in that way. And also, we need to look at what is a transaction. In our world, a transaction is a database transaction. And if you're familiar with a database transaction, one of those transactions can be move all the troops in the game or pay dividends to all the shareholders. So it's a kind of a complex construct, and we can do a lot of those. So it is very scalable, but it's hard to measure just the numbers when you talk about scalability. It's easy to mess with it. You need to ensure that you have the complete security there, of course. So,
yeah, certainly.
I don't want to go into a number race with it.
No, it's a nice quantitative measure that people can easily grasp onto, but realistically, it's saying I have 10 and you have 12, and it's silly.
We know what Rolls-Royce said about their cars when people ask about the top speed. It's adequate. So it's good enough. Yeah. So that's basically what we're Rolls-Royce. So.
And now, what about security, censorship resistance, immutability? Right? If we're highly scalable, are we taking any trade-offs with any of those other things?
No, we are not. Even though I'm saying it's based on a database, it still have a low-level chain transactions. So it's also the history, of course. And then about security, that can be a debate for what's the best model to do security. Is it proof of work? Is it proof of stake? Or is it something else? And we think it's something else. So it's more of a voting scheme. And you, as an application developer, that kickstarts the application, you will select from different part of providers across the world, from different geographies, different kind of companies, and you can judge yourself what is the risk of them colluding against you. Do you think that big companies A, B, and C in the US, and the big company D in China, and a few companies in Russia, and some friends, are they all in a conspiracy against you? Then we have a problem. But basically, it's a voting scheme, and you need to judge that level yourself, which, I shouldn't go into a big argument, but if you look at proof of work, do you know actually who is behind the mining power? Is it someone
Who
controlling
owns the miners?
everything?
That's it.
Proof of stake, the rich do the judgments. We can have a long argument. What is decentralization? It's not only, but the core thing is about control. So is it decentralization equals who's controlling the application? And of course, it'll be complete. And like a lot of blockchains that are kickstarting, maybe it will not be completely decentralized or perfect at the beginning because it's in a bootstrap phase. But it'd be completely useless for us if it wasn't. So the complete ambition is that we should not have a larger stake than anyone else in this system. And also giving power to the application developer, who can then delegate it to the application and users to decide on the risk levels, the performance, and everything. So.
Now, you guys are launching or using your own programming language. So if I'm a developer, I want to come and build my application on Chromia, there is a new programming language that I will have to learn. Now, what is the rationale behind deciding to do that?
Yeah, so at the core, we are a relational database close. But for relational database, it's basically been one language, SQL, with a lot of dialects since many years. We haven't seen much alternatives. Now, if you take that and put it on a public blockchain, you need to add some security elements. So, both that SQL is old, and we're providing more of a generic programming language. So it's not only database, but so we need to have primitives for cryptography and things like that. We're also adding static typing, which makes it more secure. So it means that when you create the program if it will crash, etc., except when running it. That's the easy explanation. So we're adding a few elements like that, but also making it 1/6 of the size, fewer lines of code, so making it more compact and a little bit more modern, I would say. So that's the reason. And just coming back to why didn't you do this on the Ethereum virtual machine? When I think about it, you have in the whole world, the biggest virtual machine is the Java virtual machine. But as far as I know, not even databases are built on the Java virtual machine. They're usually built on something else, right? On C or low level. Even Oracle, who owns Java, etc. So it's not that easy to just take a virtual machine and build something complex that's highly speedy, etc. So that's it's basically impossible to build it on the Ethereum virtual machine with sufficient performance and those kind of characteristics. So that's why we are not doing that.
Well, you need to make your own tools, and the funny thing is making your own programming language or adapting existing programming languages to be a bit different to work with. Your solution, that's, if you go back to when Ethereum was launched, they started talking about just Solidity and stuff, and people probably, that's crazy, but now it's become a bit of an industry standard. So again, we can go back to we're still pretty early. It's and programmers and developers are very clever people. So
and look at the history of internet programming. We started with CGI scripts, so that's the standard. And PHP comes. Everyone's PHP. That is the de facto standard. Everyone, why not making it in PHP? It's the de facto. Then a more productive tool comes, like Ruby on Rails, that you can do it in shorter lines of code. That people say, "Oh, that's cool, Ruby. Let's go to that." And now I guess it's Node.js. So moving to a more productive environment doesn't mean that even if you have a big market share like crazy, like PHP, doesn't mean that it will stay forever. Developers are looking for productive tools, and that's why I'm confident that they will discover this.
That's it. Very cool. Now, I guess to break a lot of this down is this post-chain idea that you guys have. So can you kind of explain a little bit what this post-chain idea is?
Yeah, so we started off working with tokens on Bitcoin, then we didn't find that much customers. It was early, so no one was really interested in the public blockchains. And at the time, Ethereum wasn't even finished. So we started to work with enterprise blockchain, federated blockchains, etc. But we had learned some lessons around. We actually did like a stable coin for a bank in Estonia based on tokens on Bitcoin, the Color Coins project in 2015. And when we coded that, we needed to search for information in the blockchain, which is a linked list. So then we needed to store it in the database and index it. And then we came up with the idea that we can use the database and make it into a blockchain. So we built a federated blockchain based on this ID. So it's basically the start of Chromia. This layer around voting, having a federated blockchain. But PostChain wasn't sort of intended to be used with SQL, which is, to enterprise, it can be a sell because they already have thousands or hundreds of developers in-house that knows how it works. And it's very stable, been used for 30 years maybe. So, but again, moving it to the public blockchain, we need a new language that is more secure in public settings, and we need some more work on the governance on that model. So PostChain, we say, it's both an enterprise product, but also the foundation of what we now do to Chromia.
Nice. And you kind of talked about it a little bit already, but I think the team is something that I really want to highlight here, because you guys have been in the blockchain space for quite some time, going, back almost 5 years now or so to the Colored Coins project, and a lot of the people who are working now on Chromia with you were also there for that. So I think that's really cool to see that you guys are a veteran team when it comes to this, and so you've got a lot of experience in building these kind of things.
Yeah, look, gray beard. No, but
that's what 5 years in blockchain does to you.
My co-founder, I think he's one of the first articles about Bitcoin on TechCrunch, like the first user-friendly wallet, SafeBit, 2011. But I got introduced through Alex, our CTO, Alex Mizrahi. So he introduced me to Bitcoin because in 2012, he discovered this idea that you can issue tokens. So not only use it for payments, but issue shares, and real estate titles, and the blockchain industry, basically. So he formed this project, the Color Coins project. It became like a plant school of a lot of other projects now. It started in 2012, and kind of a lot of fights, which protocol we should use, and so on. So it basically broke up to around 2014. Vitalik Buterin was there at the end before he came up with Ethereum, and we had like Emi Song was there, and we had people behind Digital Asset Holdings, and a lot of famous crypto people now that was in that project. So I started off as a developer, and we started this company together in 2014.
Well, and speaking of some famous crypto people, you've got a few advisors like Charlie Lee and Vinny Lingham, who are advisors to Chromaway, which is the parent company of Chromia, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, being veterans in a way, so we've been, Alex, I've been having a lot of conversations with Charlie Lee, of course, around. They even wrote the paper together around.
That's pretty cool.
On governance, and Vinny Lingham's been around for a long time as well. At the time, I wasn't even almost in crypto. It was just an interest.
Starting to dip your toes in.
Card company, but
Now, one thing we do have to discuss is that Chromia, last year, there was quite a bit of drama because of particularly Ian Blina and rumors around him getting certain allocations within the early sales and things like this. So can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah. he is an investor just like all other investors on the same terms. He's not an advisor. I mean, we know him, but he doesn't have like an advisory compensation or an advisory role or anything. So he's an investor on the same terms as the other investors.
So he's not getting a special price or unlocked tokens or anything like
But,
that. He's just invested in the early stage of the sale with the
know.
same terms as everyone else.
I think it's a little bit unfair to him and his team. At least he has a team that is doing technical due diligence around the project. Can't say that for all our investors.
Okay, it's one of those things that
that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I know that a lot of people out there would want to know that response from you. So thanks for answering that.
Yeah.
And I want to move on to, I think what's really more interesting is the use cases of the technology. We've broken down what the technology is, who the people are behind it, and all of these different things. But reading through your website and stuff like this, we can see there's a bit of a focus on at least a bit with government, and we're going to break down the gaming and things like that too. But for example, there's some interesting things like Chromia working with the Swedish government on their e-krona project, and that's not necessarily going on Chromia, but just as what the Chromia company, the parent company, is doing. We also have a proof of concept with UN Women. But land registry, this is something that Chromia will be working on, and you've got quite a few different partners or areas of interest with the Swedish Land Registry, New South Wales, British Columbia, one of the states in India. So can you talk a little bit about the land registry use case and why that's a good fit for Chromia?
Yeah, it's something we stumbled upon when we started to go into this enterprise direction. We just had a meeting with the Swedish Land Registry. We thought that we were about to explain them blockchain a little bit, but they said, "Yeah, this is interesting. We saw this at the conference. Let's do a project." And so basically, we've been working on that. But a lot of people are so naive. Like immediately people thought that Sweden has changed the land registry to be on blockchain. But that's completely unrealistic. It's a Western country, institutions that have been for hundreds of years. The land registry has not a single IT system. They have several and their own large IT team. You just don't change it to a blockchain after a few months. So, land registry is kind of a complex operation. So what we looked for that was first the processes of buying and selling real estate. Then we did another project in India, more of a proof of concept to have a secure registry. And that's more close to a database. It's not a process. It's more about the registry and having a transparent, basically log of who changes what in order to decrease the risk of corruption. Recently, we've been doing projects in Australia, close to you. In New South Wales with the land registry, and we are starting a second project with them, and also in British Columbia and in South America. And so but that's kind of slightly different. Those applications around the land registries. I hope that we can do something in Africa. It has a lot of potential to actually solve some real world problems. If you can have a structure around the process, how to claim the rights to land, you can decrease the risk of war and also make sure that people take care of their plot of land, which can be good for the environment, etc. So but it's not an easy thing to do. But something that we are really interested to explore and continue working with. And the more knowledge we get, the more projects we do, the closer we get, I think. So it's very dear to us, I can say that we'll have everything on Chromia, but Chromia has some features that I think is kind of nice because we can make applications that are controlled by users. So you can make sure that not even if you update an application, maybe you implement a mini democracy and you have like the users need to accept a patch to the system before it's applied. You can implement various ways of governance inside Chromia, and the application developer can let go of it and say, I'm not controlling anymore. it's now the users that are controlling it. So it works quite well with political issues around controlling. So, but I can't promise that everything will be on Chromia, of course. But
well,
so that's one, interesting aspect about it.
I could
Maybe
certainly
I should talk
see.
about the e-currency. Maybe I can talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Just I just want to give a quick note to the audience about the land registry thing. Is that I think I can't remember the exact statistic, but around half of the world's population can't even prove that they own the land that they live on, and that has so many far-reaching implications, from things like not being able to get equity against your property, take out mortgages or loans or any of these kind of things. It's a really big problem. And any solutions which go towards fixing that, I think, are absolutely awesome. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about the e-currency project.
Yeah, that's also something that people exaggerate and think that Sweden is now on crypto. So, but it's also basically the Swedish central bank has been looking at. First there was only Bitcoin, so that was they were doing kind of a good analysis about around 2013, 2014. We started to talk with them and explain the technology and have various discussions. Then they filed. They have been exploring how to do a e-currency, a digital currency. So they're not saying that it will be on the cryptocurrency technology. It could also be something centralized, and we are proposing something in between where you can move between. So we basically filed a proposal. Not only us, there were several other companies that filed proposals, and then we had the discussions around it. And now they went back and sort of trying to design a solution. So, and of course, if there be someone that delivers it, it will be an open tender, of course. So that's not something we can promise. But it's kind of interesting. I think it's a lot around a little bit of a power struggle between the central bank and the commercial banks. Because in Sweden, almost no one is using cash anymore. I don't even carry notes. And the only one that are issuing currencies are the central banks, or the commercial banks. So the central bank, I think, sees that they want to have an alternative. So, and that makes me think that they will actually do it. And let's see what they come up with in terms of solution. But it's nice to be interviewed and about them. And we did a good proposal together with.
Hopefully, you guys can be involved in some way in that. And obviously, it's just a proposal, still early stages, but it's exciting nevertheless. Now, I wanted to ask you about this thing, the Green Assets Wallet. Can you explain to us what that is?
Yeah, we started to do that on our federated blockchain, PostChain, last year. It's an idea to have green bonds is a financial instrument, a bond, basically like a loan, but you also promise some effect on the environment. That if you fund this, you will also have this power plant built, and it will be green energy, etc. So someone promised something, but how do you know that? How can you follow up? So we want to have like an open system where we can basically have an audit log of who said what, who promised what, and have different kind of evidence indicating that the effects are done. So maybe measure energy out of the solar plant. You can have satellite images taking photos of the solar plant, but mainly also like have auditing companies upload documents. Not very sexy, but still, who did what, it's signed, and when, etc. Do we have the evidence, like a system for issuers and for validators? There are different roles in this system. So what is cool is that we will now start a new project on Chromia around this. So that will be a public blockchain which has some reputable companies, banks, etc. working on it. So it's not that common with real enterprises on the public blockchain. So that's very exciting to me. So.
And it's great for the transparency that you're trying to go for with that project. So I think that's really important. Now, gaming is such a massive conversation point at the moment in the entire crypto
Sorry,
economy. Go
sorry,
ahead.
I'm interrupting, but it
Go
sounds
ahead.
like we did the Green Assets Wallet, but we have a customer, Stockholm Green Digital Finance, that is doing this project, and we are just helping them. So
Working
I
with
don't
them.
want to steal. I don't want to steal the project for them. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So the gaming industry is something I want to follow up on with you about because it's massive right now. We have most major blockchain companies in one way or another trying to approach the gaming industry. So how do you see gaming fitting into the Chromia picture?
Yeah, I mean, we hear a lot around NFTs. It's cool to have a cat on blockchain, and that's nice to have a cat on a blockchain, but you want to cuddle with it, right? So if someone just
True.
shut down the server, you will have some binary codes on a blockchain, which is not actually what you wanted. You want a cat to play with. And same if they remove the app from the app stores. You're done. You have just some binary code. So it's not enough to have something stamped immutable into a blockchain that only you are controlling. You also need to make sure that the application is up and running, that it's not revoked, etc. So it's about control again over the applications. So that's something that we have a little bit more focus on. So Chromia is a great platform to do complex applications. Basically, when you struggle with other blockchains, it's an alternative. So what we can do is you can have the complete game logic. Say it's a multiplayer game. You have the complete game logic on Chromia. So all the game activities that matter on Chromia. And then who is controlling it? In an ideal decentralized world, you will give out the control rights to the actual players to some level. Of course, you can have dictatorships or you have democracies in different ways. But ideally, the player should be able to control it. And maybe if you as an application developer thinks that the market share goes down and you don't want to support it, you want to do something else, maybe the player can pinch in and continue the operations. So try to avoid the risk of discontinuation of a service. Also, of course, if you want to have it completely resilient, you should have an open source client that you should be able to play, because we can't do it on the client side as well. So a lot of focus on having the logic on chain and not only NFTs. Of course, you can have NFTs, but that's not all to it. It's about having control. And game is just one good vertical because people can do it now. You don't need to wait for governments for years and years. We've been through that, so we want to have something that's a little faster moving, please. And so that's nice, but it also can prove scalability. And it'd be a super good case if you can have like millions of players. You can show that this actually would work for a currency in a country, for example. So it's a good case in that way. But it's also, that's basically what we're offering for the gaming market. More focus on the logic. And now we're releasing some Dapps that just proves the point around having the logic on it. We're doing a checkers game, and so it's basically like a showcase of. I mean, it's not super advanced or anything, but at least detect who wins, etc., and have the players log in and everything. That code is an example of how you can host the logic on chain.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys aren't a game development firm, right? You'll leave that up to the game developers. You're providing the platform for them to come and build it on, right?
Well, at least not yet, but we will also do. We're working with. Can't say now, but we will sign.
Oh, it's with someone.
Today.
Interesting. Okay.
So that will do games on our platform. That basically we're kickstarting it as a little studio, because we can't even wait for the game developers to grasp the ideas around the logic. So we need to have some examples ourselves.
Some really good examples, not just market, checkers, right? Yeah.
And we want to make something that people use. So show that we can reach out to normal people. So
very cool.
If no one else is doing it, we have to do it. But we don't want to be the only game company.
Yeah, well, it's sometimes you just got to get out there and do it yourself, I suppose, just to show other people it can be done.
Yeah.
And the final question I have for you today is, Looking forward for the rest of 2019, what are the big things that we can be looking forward to that we can expect from Chromia?
Yeah, first that it's going to be released first in testnet and then in mainnet, of course, and we'll show you some working serious applications. I mentioned one kind of enterprise application. I hope that for example, the Green Assets wallet can be launched and used by users. And we see some games and various dApps. And of course, we want to increase the community and be more outreaching. We have the more and more stuff we get finished and that we show will be more, opening up for communicating with developers and entrepreneurs and users. So there's going to be a lot of activity this year. It's very exciting.
Very, very cool. Well, for anybody who wants to join up with the community, follow along with the progress, check out more information about what they're doing, there's links down below in the description. So I'd invite you to go ahead and check those out. Henrik, thank you so much for coming on today and telling us the vision behind what you guys are doing.
Thank you. This is the vision. Power to the public.
Power to the public.
But anyway, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Let's own the applications. Yeah. Get rid of the big American companies controlling our lives.
That's it. Take the power back, guys. Take the power back.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.